the sessions then.
Okay, that sounds great. Okay, so I will now open the rooms. You'll get a window that says that you're going to transport into a different universe. All right. All right. So we have. Oh, who was unassigned? Oh. Okay. Let me. Yes. Okay. So we have Karan, we have Yash, we have Grishma. I think Mayank. I think he's doesn't have his video on, but he is.
Yeah. Hi, Hemant.
Hi.
I'm here. Good. Thanks.
Okay, fantastic. So you know what? We will get started. Hemant, so again, thank you so much for this, for joining us today. This is the first time we're trying this, so really excited to push this interactive session. Our main focus was that everyone in the CMU network should either be an advisor, a mentor, a customer, or an investor of each other. And I think there's great value. We think there's great value that we can add to that. And so thank you, Hemant, for joining us. So why don't we take the first few minutes for you to introduce yourself and your experiences and your background. And then we will go into individual introductions followed by the interactive discussion. So Hemant, so yes.
All right, my background. Okay, so I have, let me start with education, bachelor's in math and computer science and MBA, both from CMU. Ran first 10 years of my career, ran a software company, but not traditionally software because I was designing integrated circuits and technology, embedded systems. For 3 years after that, I ran an automotive casting company, making diesel engines, castings for diesel engines. And since 2010, I've been running a cotton spinning yarn business. And historically, my family had, we had a joint venture with Toyota to build trucks in the 1980s. And you may have heard of the next company which this morphed into, which was Daewoo, building CLO cars in the 90s.
I remember those CLOs.
Right, so that's the automotive side, so I have historical knowledge of those because at that time I was not working, but I can bring some of that knowledge into the presentation. So that's brief intro.
Okay, great. So why don't we have Yash? And so one by one, we will go into just a quick 1 minute introduction about your background, CMU affiliation, and what you're doing with your current company or a job, and what you're looking for from this session. So we'll start with you, Yash.
Sounds good. Thanks, first of all, Asha, for organizing, and thank you so much for your time, Hemant. So I was a CMU undergrad batch of 2013 and recently graduated MBA from Harvard Business School 2019. We actually have a yarn company. We make synthetic yarns, polyester and nylon and all of those things, which I was doing between 2013 and 17. And since I got back, have actually morphed into an investor also, managing our family office investments. So that is a bit of, so the sort of session is doubly important, both from manufacturing angle and an investing angle. Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Thanks. Karan, go ahead.
Sure. Asha and Nirav, thank you for putting this together. And Hemantji, thanks for,
Please call me Hemant.
Hemant. My name is Karan Jain. I graduated from Tepper's MBA program in 2013. My wife and I were in the US after that for a couple of years, and we returned in 2016 to start a steel company within my family business, which is in its 51st year right now. So we currently make a color-coated steel that is used in roofing solutions, and appliances. And the thing that I'm most interested in learning from you today is the people aspect of manufacturing. So, we process things as people, processes and technology. And for me, the biggest variable by far is people. So, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Karan. Mayank, please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi. Myself, Mayank. I graduated from Tepper MBA in '08, and right now I'm working with Dazzle Robotics, which is a electronics e-commerce company. We are into a lot of electronic parts, motors, and stuff like that for startups and manufacturing companies. And I'm planning to move into renewable as well, solar as well. So that's what I was looking for some inputs from Hemant.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
So,
Just a quick one. Grishma, quick introduction.
Hi, so I actually have no manufacturing or any of this background. I actually did my MBA at Tepper and graduated in 2004, after which I worked in finance for about, I think, 10 years. Then I moved to India. And having kids, I didn't want to have those stringent long hours and stuff. So I moved into the education space. So I actually, the first 6-8 years of my life, I was a partner in a company. And I think some of you know her, Vibha Kagsi. So I was at Reach Ivy and I was a partner in the company. And most recently, I launched my own education venture called Open Canvas. So, but I look forward to the session today and, learning about everyone's journey and questions.
Awesome. You want to do a quick introduction or?
Yeah, Prashant is not able to join in. If you could.
Yeah, he messaged me too, but I think his handle says ATHA. I've given him the invitation to join.
And resend it to him because.
So why don't we let's just get the discussion started.
So,
I'll work on it on the background.
Yeah. So hi everyone. My name is Nirav Kadakia. I am Tepper 2003 MBA, and I think I know all of you here except Yash. And for a living, I raise money for tech companies and also manage wealth for Untitled. And meeting everybody. And by the way, Hemant, Grishma is Prateek's wife. Just FYI.
Yes, I noticed.
Yes. We were together in CME, all of us.
Oh, okay, great. Excellent.
Awesome. So just a quick background on me. I graduated Tepper MBA 2019, prior to which I've been in the US for the last 10 years, did my undergrad, worked at Deloitte for 4 years, Deloitte Consulting, did my MBA, was in Silicon Valley for a year. Now I moved back to India to run my agriculture company. And what's interesting about the manufacturing, and it's not connected, but it's the vertical integration angle that I learned from my manufacturing friends. We've actually adopted in the agro world as well, because we supply the fertilizers. Now we are taking on the end product and selling that too. So, I think lateral inspiration is very, very important. So, Hemant, let's get started with the discussion. I think you've got initial questions from our.
I got initial questions, so that really helped. And I've got a brief, badly made presentation, really quick, but I just want use that just as a way to discuss, not really to make a big presentation here.
Sure.
Okay, so because of most of the questions, as I can see, were around people, so I just consolidated them into like a couple of questions, right? Which would just use this as a way to just go through the people stuff. So one thing that I just wanted to understand from everybody was, because I can talk about high level stuff, but are you looking also for like brass tacks implementation details? Because a lot of the times converting the theory into practice is where the gap ends up being. So if you could give me a little bit of feedback on that, I could, sort of focus it accordingly. So if anybody could, give me some feedback right away.
Okay, sounds good.
So okay, so why don't I just start then? Okay, I'll just go ahead and go back 1 sec. Let me just. Oops. Okay, you need to enable me to share the screen.
Okay. I think, yeah, you have.
Am I enabled to do
Yeah.
that now? Okay, because it's showing the host disabled participants screen share.
Is it still showing that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've actually, it's enabled for me to share. It's multiple folks can share simultaneously.
Okay, so I'm okay.
Sorry about that.
So I'm not sure how to do this now.
Give me.
Asha, it tells me host disabled participant screen sharing.
Yeah, it's disabled.
So if I look at it and my advanced sharing options, it says multiple participants can share simultaneously. Who can share? All participants.
I'm able to share. So I don't know. Maybe you'll have to rejoin or something.
Should I rejoin or?
You
Yeah,
could,
I think give
But
that
would
a
I
shot.
come into the same room then, or would I go into another room?
I mean, I would have to assign you back to this room. So if you rejoin the meeting.
So maybe I should leave and then come back. Yeah.
Yeah, you could try that.
Okay. Sorry about this.
No worries. I don't know why it's happening. If Yash can do it, I feel like everyone should be.
Yeah.
Yash has some special privileges.
Yeah, because I
Not fair, not fair.
I don't know, some
Ashay, no playing favorites, all right?
Exactly. No, very partial, very partial. Huh?
Unless it's one of us. Right, Neerav?
Absolutely. I mean, what happened to that Prashant fellow, poor fellow? He's on the WhatsApp.
I don't know what's.
By the way, is there any hard limit of participants or?
No. There's not.
This is the problem when CMU guys don't design the software. This is all the third-rate software.
Okay, let's see. Okay, I've got. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave the room and go to the main screen. Maybe I need to admit them to the meeting.
Okay.
I'll be back.
Yeah.
Okay. I think Prashant, you're also on the.
Yeah, it worked finally.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, I tried it through my laptop. Sorry.
No worries.
So what I'm going to this share screen again?
1 second. We need to go back to the room. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the breakout room. So Hemant, have you got the invite to join the room?
No, I think you assigned me, right? So this is the.
One second. So okay, you don't see any indication for you to join a breakout room. Oh, can you actually go down
breakout rooms? Yeah, 1 sec. Hold on.
Yeah, can you go down to your?
Yeah, join breakout room. I'm joining it.
Okay, so join the manufacturing sector breakout room. Okay, fantastic.
So what?
Okay.
Can I just go verbal?
Okay, can you share it now?
1 sec.
I think now Prashant, everyone's in now. Prashant is also in.
I can't share it. Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to just do it verbally and this?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Sorry about that. I don't know.
Yeah, no problem. Actually, there's a lot of artifacts I had to show, but I could do one thing. I could just mail it to you.
Yeah, why don't you mail it? Why don't you mail it to me? And in the meantime, as I open it, you can start this discussion.
Yeah. Okay, one sec. Yeah, just a sec. Can you send? Give me your email. One second. I think I have.
One second, let me chat it to you.
If you could just speak it out, I'll just type in your email.
Okay, it's AASHAY, Ashay.
Okay, got it. Yeah, all right.
You must have got an email from me. AASHAY, doshi1@gmail.com.
Yeah. Sorry about all this delay.
No worry, no worry.
I'm going to send you 2 of them. Huh? So,
sure, just tell me when it's sent, I'll open it up. Just let me know when it's sent, so I'll refresh my page.
Okay, so I've sent it. I think it's a big 27 MB thing. So.
Oh, so is it a Google Drive link?
I don't know.
I think the max capacity is 25 megs.
Oh God. Anyway.
No, that's fine.
Let's just start. Yeah.
I'll wait for the email. Why don't you start?
Yeah. So I'll just read out some of these questions from you, so you can just tell me if this is fine. So I've kind of clubbed them. So one I have on Industry 4.0, yeah, and how do you use analytics in driving business? I've clubbed those questions. And then I have about 3 or 4 questions. How do you build an inclusive leadership culture? How do you lead change in manufacturing workforce amidst global pandemic headwinds and trade wars with China? Have there been any changes in the way you manage people and processes that have been particularly successful? And what are the key attributes that you look for in your leaders and core team? Okay. So let me just start with the 3 or 4 questions I just mentioned about the leaders and core team. So I don't know if there is any particular sort of single thing that works in terms of creating leadership within the company. We have a very integrated, holistic management system because there are many levers and many things that go to do this, right? I mean, so I can't. So there are no tips, so to speak, at least in my understanding. We obviously, before we talk of leadership, we have to be clear about what we want as a culture in the organization, because whoever comes in as a leader is going to impose a certain set of values, right? I mean, they are right at the top. I mean, you guys are promoters. You will have a certain value set that you will impose. A lot of that will then flow into the culture, because that's how behavior gets governed, and culture is all about norms, how we do things here, what happens and how decisions are taken. So in my opinion, though, there are 2 or 3 bedrocks of a successful culture, right? Which would be common across most successful cultures. One is building trust in the organization, building trust across all stakeholders. So what does trust mean, right? So trust comes, in my opinion, in 2 forms, in 2 things. It has two let's say subtitles to it, which is, one is intent. So can I trust your intent towards me as a customer, intent towards me as a shareholder, intent towards me as an employee? What is your intent? Second is competence, right? Meaning that I can illustrate this with an example. So if you want to drive a car, but you tell somebody who doesn't have a driver's license to drive it, well, the intent might be there to drive that car, but the competence isn't. So you wouldn't trust that person to drive the car, even though the intent is there, right? So, but why? So why is trust? Okay, yeah, okay, great. No. So, Asha, can you go to the next slide?
Yep.
Okay. So the questions I got was, about building an inclusive culture in the Indian context, leading change in manufacturing workforce amidst global pandemic and trade wars, key attributes of the leadership team, and measuring productivity. Right. Okay. Go to the next slide. So these are some of the things that I have noticed when employees come in vanilla, and I'm talking blue collar, maybe lower level, not so educated, because in the manufacturing world, we are not always getting the smartest guys, right? We are getting people who would be willing to work in non-metros, in areas where factories are, okay, people who are willing to live there. So some of the things that we run into sometimes is that employees look at the company as a parent. You don't know where the line between professional and family stops. So if people have a problem, they look towards the company to help them out. Somebody gets sick, please help me with the hospital. And there's a lot of informal stuff going on. So the Western model has this clear dividing line. This is your workspace, this is your home space. In India, this kind of gets merged. It kind of is kind of blurry, kind of way. So they have a kind of a paternalistic culture that comes in because of this, and this is part of India's culture also. We are kind of hierarchical even in our families, and also. I see that unlike the Japanese culture, we are more individualistic. Maybe not to the extent of the West. We are certainly definitely have community, but that community is more around our family. At the workspace, individualism does come in. At the bottom, I'm seeing a lack of initiative sometimes, a lack of striving for perfection. You always see this jugaad kaam, the stuff that chalta hai, let's just get it going somehow, and lack of detailing, spending time on learning, compliance to systems. I'm sure you're facing this in your factories. Like, you have SOPs out, and then are other workers complying or not? And a lot of times you'll find there's always a shortcut to doing compliances.
Yep.
Right? Okay. The next slide. So sorry, phone off. Okay. So in this context, if you look at leadership, obviously your leadership has to come from your personal character rather than your position of power, right? I mean, that is, I think, clearly understood for any leadership situation. But in our company, in my company, authenticity, trust, and transparency, I mean, these are like bedrock of any leadership. If you can't believe your leader, you can't trust your leader, leadership is, I mean, it's a meaningless concept, right? I mean, you look at, even if you look at religious leadership or leadership in other contexts, trust in the leader is a primary reason for people to follow them. They trust this person, right? And to be able to be trusted, you have to have internal authenticity, right? And transparency. I found transparency is the best way to get rid of politics in an organization. You publish everything out there, and you're not listening to people filling your ears. You can get rid of politics from your organization. This is something that especially in large organizations is a problem. Of course, and you're assessing leaders by the performance of the team, right? I mean, no leader is doing anything on their own, right? If their team is not performing, they are not performing. It's clear, right? So leadership, primary driver for building the right culture, right? And obviously the leader's values get embodied into the culture, because I mean, that's the behavior pattern that's going to go down. So as business owners, you have to be very clear about the values you want to communicate now and how you live them within that company. So in my view, leaders' primary objective other than business results is to build trust with all stakeholders. And why trust? Because trust reduces uncertainty. If I can trust you, I'm not uncertain. I know what's going to happen. And nobody likes uncertainty, right? if your shareholders trust you, there's okay, they're going to deliver, that's fine, I can trust them. The government trusts you, they're going to pay your taxes, you'll be fine. You know, your employees trust you, your customers trust you. Ultimately, they are not uncertain. They don't know what they know what the outcomes are going to be, right? I mean, it's a big factor in building culture in any company. However, I mean, you can have a very different culture for Google than for a company like mine, you know, starting out the same thing day in and day out. And Google probably is rewarding innovation and all kinds of other stuff, which maybe are not the primary drivers in my business. They are drivers, but not the primary ones.
Yep.
Right. Next. Sorry. Okay. So how do you build culture, right? So how do you build culture is, it's not just the leader. Okay, the leader obviously is the large part of it, but our management systems reinforce it, right? Top management is totally involved in it. Okay. And you develop people's hard, soft skills in line with the way you want your culture to progress, right? And also the leadership competencies at all the levels within the organization. So all these people embody it, right? So you have a system. It's not just because the leader is like this, everything happens that way. So to build that consistency, the management systems have to support it, right? Okay, let's go. You can go past this one. Yeah. So trust building. So So when we are hiring, right? We are not hiring for skill. Our necessary condition is, first thing is hiring for attitude. I always hire for attitude because in my definition, skill is always teachable, right? I can teach the skill. I can't teach attitude. That's the hardest part, right? So I'm looking at, even at the lowest level entry points into the organization, for people of the kind that I want, to the best that I can, right? Of course, you can make mistakes, and you know all that happens. And so the culture that I'm trying to drive within my company is you know, one of collaboration. Obviously, we are all trying to break silos, right? But this very easy to say. But what I'm saying is that we try to have an organic organization which is able to reorganize itself. So we are constantly having cross-functional teams which go out, do something, and break up, right? It's not rigid. I mean, you have rigid silos. That's the functional design of an organization, right? But the flexibility to be able to pull anybody from wherever, create a team, attack a problem, and disperse. That's the liveness, the dynamism within the organization that needs to happen. Right? And data transparency. I mean, like, everybody knows my financial results within the company, right? Everybody knows what's happening. It's like because we know that that's what drives trust with the organization. You can give, oh, we are making losses, but you're not, you know, nobody knows, you know, or you know, so when people have absence of data, that's when then rumors and all spread, right? Like, oh no, it's not actually like this, it's like that. And that's where all the trust goes out of the system. Okay, so if you're interested, I'm sorry, I'm going to just stop here for a minute and just, you know, if you want me to, I have some specific examples from my company to actually operationalize this, which I can quickly run you through, but I'll stop here and give me some more feedback and I can redirect myself.
So anyone have any feedback on?
So one thing I would like to add is, Hemant, is transparency parameters different for small companies and big companies? And you said, like, how to keep the employees engaged. Now, if I have 5 salespeople whose job is to really, you know, call people and get the orders every day, how do we keep those guys motivated and within the, you know, organization? Or, I mean, is that
okay? So motivation is part of, in my opinion, having meaning at work, right? Like, if this job means something to me, if this job is something that is helping me, that is something that I'm deriving pleasure out of. So I'll tell you, I mean, most of our guys are doing repetitive stuff in a manufacturing company, right? But how do you get meaning? Meaning comes from, one, ownership. Like, so let's say on the floor, okay, I'm just giving this example away from salespeople, but just to illustrate the point. If I am saying that this team of workers owns this machine, this output is theirs, they can take empowerment and fix it. And they have the training to do it because we have internal programs to do that, right? So that's one way of doing it. right? Which is that your salespeople feel empowered, they have control over their futures, and they feel like that what they are doing has meaning to them. You know, that they are recognized within their organization, they are rewarded for doing that. So as long as you know, I'm not trying to what I'm trying to say is that what I'm saying is a few of the things that you would do, but there is a whole system to it, right? For creating meaning for your employees. Otherwise, you are in this Taylorian kind of scientific management thing where everything is a time and motion thing, and people are just working like robots, right? So until we are creating meaning for our people, the motivation is not going to come, right? So in that context, I think a lot of sitting down and talking to your people, figuring out their motive, what drives them is going to be a key driver. You know, and also what is the future in this company. For example, I'm telling you just an example. People in my company get promoted all the way to the board. Okay, I mean that line is completely open. So there's no like block at the top. Okay, I'm stopping here. Go ahead.
And I agree.
Yeah, so I see a lot of what I've said seems a little vague, but you know, you have to approach each individual, you know, separately and figure out these things with them, right? But the main message here is create meaning for them in their work. Otherwise, it's just another job coming to work and going home.
Exactly.
So, Hemant, quick question on that. So, given the context of your presentation, so isn't most of the times the meaning around, at least on the manufacturing level, the meaning is around money and what the salary and what the increments that they're going to get? And especially in the pandemic, now that I don't know the specifics, many company manufacturing units have had to downsize. The traditional system of throwing bodies at a problem has reduced. Now you're going to optimize and become more efficient. So how do you keep that motivation? And you know, this was part of the questions as well. Through the pandemic, how do you keep that motivation? How do you upskill them? How do you create that meaning?
Okay, so in my view, I think meaning comes from clarity, aligning the people's goals with the company's goals. So, I mean, I have people living in Hisar, okay, which is outside in Haryana somewhere, okay. We have a colony which is on site, okay. All their people's families are socializing there, right? People have a very safe, secure environment. Their families are happy. Their kids are going to school, okay. We have a very good reward and recognition system, and our recognition system is not money. It's not about money alone. People are paid at reasonable levels, so they don't have to keep comparing with the next job somewhere else. They have tight relationships with each other, and they are empowered to take decisions. Okay. The biggest problem comes that when you don't have empowerment, you are just taking orders, right? You don't have to use your brain. You don't have to feel committed. But when you are invested in the outcome of what you do, that creates meaning for you, right? So it is our job to be able to empower employees, right? I mean, like, we have to make them capable to be empowered, right? I mean, I can't just drag one guy off the street and say, tomorrow you're empowered, because I don't know what he's going to do. He's going to perform, not perform, screw it all up, right? But that's where the organization fills in, right? They train the person, they bring the person to that level of capability that they can empower the person.
Got it.
Right? So let me just, I mean, I can just show you like a performance management system really quick. Okay, so look, just go back. You know this arrow here, which one did, no, go one gun forward. Yeah, you have these arrows, right, in this slide. Can you see them?
Yeah.
So could you do the number 5? Just click on that arrow. Just click your mouse again. Okay, now these are internal metrics and measurement systems, right? All hand-filled for the time being. Just click on the little one, the little...
this one?
This one, yeah, go ahead, yeah. Okay, so here you can see production index, customer complaints, you can see targets, right? I mean, we have like customer complaint targets, and what has been achieved so far. Okay. We have weightages. Okay. So what I was trying to say in terms of internal company performance, people already know where they are. We don't have an appraisal that we have to sit and tell somebody what they're doing. Everything is processized here. I have to still computerize this part of it, obviously, but we have track and the review is every month, right? So you can do course correction, you can do whatever you want. I just wanted to give you an example of how performance is managed, and it's all metric.
Got it.
Okay. Okay. So just click again, and go click the back arrow. Just click the back arrow. Back. Just click it back. Back arrow. Click on the back arrow. Just click on the back arrow again. Yeah, click on the back arrow. Yeah.
This one.
Click on the back arrow.
This one, right?
Yeah. You need to click on click on the back arrow. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're back, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so now let me show you. I don't know if I'm going off topic here a little bit, but I'm just showing you the internal drivers that keep people on track and performing. I talked a little bit about software aspects. I will talk about those further. So let me just run maybe another couple of slides. Can you click on the last arrow, number 6? Okay, so this is a credibility questionnaire that is a self-questionnaire, right? It's an internal psychological metric. A person can just tick off what he feels about in this questionnaire across all those questions to do a self-assessment of how credibly am I coming off to others in the organization. And it is not evaluated, okay? There's no money linked to this, nothing. It is only a self-development tool, okay? So that a person can become more credible within their organization, more believable, right? More trustworthy. Okay, so so there are many pages, but if you just click the back arrow, we can skip through this.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So this is, I've just given you a small snapshot of how we are building leadership competencies inside, right? To become more credible, the hard ones, which are the KPIs, key performance indicators, and the soft ones, which is what are my behavioral characteristics that I need to work on. There's a listening workshop up here. I've just skipped it, but there's a whole move in our company just now, how to be a good listener, right? Empathetic listener. Like, am I listening to what? And when I say listening, we've got defined it very widely. It's not listening to my subordinates, my peers, my seniors. It's also things like listening to the machine. What is the machine saying to me? Okay. It's a whole thing about how am I sensitized to data, whether it's qualitative or arithmetic, or numbers,
Yep.
So right now the whole this year is going to go on how to listen to our customers, to everybody, empathetically, not just listening and going in and going out. Okay, next slide. Okay, so if you want, again, this is about culture building, right? So I'm focusing now a little on the softer metrics. If you on the part 2, if you could just skip, press the arrow, yeah, in number 2. Click the mouse again. Yeah. So these are, you can see individuals' names. Yeah. Yeah. These are their individual scores on a 360-degree internal appraisal. Okay. This is that they have been rated by their subordinates, their peers, and their boss. Okay. They can also choose some other people to rate them if they want. The flexibility is there. Again, used only as a developmental tool, not for money, not for putting the appraisal, because here we don't want data getting faked. We want people to improve. That's why no linkage to money.
Got it.
Right? Just click again. You'll see next slide on the so for example, we have a metric for empathetic listening. Right? These are the scores. And these are scores by third-party people who they work with. That how good a listener is this guy? Right? Can I communicate? Is he listening to what I'm saying? Right? Next click. authentic speaking. Is he lying or is he telling me the truth? Do I believe what he says?
So I have a question, Hemant. In your previous slide, it said Mr. M. Chatterjee was promoted to head of engineering, but his scores seem to be a little lower than the other ones. So what is
So let me give you the angle here. So his boss left. Okay. And we have a internal policy. We have a policy that we do not want to hire from the outside.
Okay.
Okay. We want to take them from at the bottom and build them all the way to the top.
Correct.
At the time this guy's boss left, he didn't have all the skill set. Okay. So one of these guys, this guy, Pratap, who's actually head of HR, became his mentor.
Okay.
Okay. To help him bring this score up here.
Okay.
Right? So what is the messaging through this? The messaging through this is you can get promoted. You don't have to worry about your boss coming from the outside. You have a future in this company. We are not going to cut you off at this level.
Got it.
Right? Becomes a big retention issue, right? Because you know that you have a future to move up. You know the company is willing to invest in you.
Got it.
Right? Okay, just click the thing again, mouse again. Okay. So taking ownership, right? Again, we have internal 360 feedback metrics, right?
Okay.
Click it again, yeah. So is the person improvement oriented? Are they taking initiative to improve things, right? Or are they just doing their job, you know?
Got it.
Next, just click it, yeah. So this is the metric we added this year, right? In terms of our treatment of diversity and including, you know, what are the kind of people these guys are hiring now? Are they hiring people of diverse backgrounds or just the clique?
Yeah.
How do people get treated when they are not from the same background as you are? Right? This is just started. We have to, of course, evolve this into a better system.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Click.
Yeah.
How often do you do these
So
surveys?
this is once a year. This one is once a year. The KPIs are monthly. And they fill them themselves. Huh? We don't fill anything. They know their numbers. Everybody knows their numbers.
Okay.
And okay, so this is team empowerment. Just click it again. Yeah. Strategic thinking. This, of course, is a bit weak metric. We have to think about this and improve this more. Right. Okay. Next. Yeah. Business acumen. Again, very vague. We have to see. Okay. So here, so this is just basically competency score of HO, head of departments, and then the section heads below them, right, on average.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah, just click. Okay, so this is impact of training on competencies. Okay. Where was somebody in 2017? Where is he now?
Got it.
Okay. So did our training have any impact?
Got it.
Okay. Next click. Yeah, so you can see that the HODs didn't have that much impact on the section heads. It's huge. From where they were in 2015 to 2018.
Right. Interesting.
All right, next click. Same, shift officers, right, on the manufacturing floor.
So shall I click?
Yeah. Okay, so this is okay. This is 360 degree. I mean, you could just press. You can press back, I think.
Okay.
All right. I'm sorry, I've gone through a lot of detail, but I just wanted to show the practical implementation. It's not just you know, this jargon. I can keep talking endlessly.
So Hemant, quick question. So I've actually set a limit on the group to end the group in 5 minutes. If everyone's okay, I can extend it. What I can do is extend it for 10 to 15 more minutes if you want, and then go to the other group and ask them and tell them also that we're extending it by 15 minutes, if everyone's okay with time.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I did want to cover a little bit of the tech because I went too much into the soft stuff.
Is everyone okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Go for it, actually.
yes,
Okay, so Hemant, just give me, I'll have to stop sharing. I'll have to leave the room and then make the edit the settings.
Yeah.
So why don't you go ahead and discuss any of the other questions that were put in,
Okay,
and
go ahead.
I'll come back
I'll
and
do
share.
that.
Yeah.
I'll do that. Yeah.
Okay.
I think, yeah, we had one of the questions about, I think, I'm trying to, I think, Mike, you were asking about renewable. Do you
Yes.
want maybe?
Yeah, I can.
Content that is available to you today. Now link this to the operating system upgrade I was talking about, right? One way, because today it is available for free. All that you have to do is to give yourself time, and you can. And these are courses from Harvard, Wharton, Stanford, Columbia, you name it. Okay. Ever since COVID struck, I have actually done 3 courses, certificate courses myself. And it has cost me $300. Right? So I think it's something that is here to stay, but there's a lot of questions in terms of the profitability of the model, the mass scale adoption. At the grassroots level, it is definitely being seen as a game changer. But the higher you go, I mean, will people be happy sending their key executives to an e-learning program, or will they necessarily want them to go in person and attend a course in Harvard or Columbia or Stanford? Because there is a certain price, not just a price tag, but there's a certain motivational component attached to it. My own personal feeling, I think it's here to stay. And it's going to be very difficult to shake that. And I think it is, I'm currently mentoring 4 e-learning companies. And it's very interesting to see that none of the 4 of them actually overlap. So there is tremendous amount of potential and opportunity when it comes to tapping this, and tapping the US market is going to be extremely critical. India will give you the volume, but I think the expansion and adoption, because e-learning is something that helps you cross boundaries, okay? And doing that is going to be very, very critical.
Hi, Sushma. Sorry for crashing your meeting. The other group has requested as an extension of 10 to 15 minutes. Would you be okay with that? Or
I leave it to the group. I'm okay. I leave it to the group though.
That would be great, actually. For me, at least 10 to 15 minutes more would be good. Is everyone else okay with that?
Yeah, good.
Yes,
yes.
so what's going to
Yes.
in 13 seconds, we're going to come back to the main group, and I will put us back in the other breakout room for another.
Thanks, Ashay.
Okay, so just hold tight for the next 3 seconds. We'll be back. Okay. Oh, actually, I can keep the breakout rooms open. Oh, fantastic. Okay.
Okay. Have 10 more, right?
Okay, I will leave this room and go to the other room now.
Okay, thanks, Ashay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks.
As much as load as they want, And so you have to be careful how you do it.
So everyone, I'm back. The other group is good for another 15 minutes or even more extension. So up to you, how much ever you want to. There's no time limit anymore. So would you like me to share my screen again?
Yeah, that'd be great if everyone else is okay and have 10-15 minutes on their hands.
Yeah, unless like Yash or Karan or anyone has any questions that they wanted to ask before we go on to the presentation.
Yeah, why don't you can ask a question or two and then we can move to the presentation.
Yeah. Hemant, I was just wondering if you go to, I was just wondering how some of these new technologies, 3D printing, AI, IoT.
So I've got that in the presentation right after this.
Perfect.
So I'll just jump right into it. And I will give you a live example of how I'm using it in my factory also.
Great.
So Hemant, should I go to that technology presentation or do you
want
me
just go there, I'll run it through really fast. I won't labor through it. I'll just run it very fast.
Okay, take it. One second, I'll share my screen. This presentation, right?
No, the original one first. The one you had opened first.
1 minute. Okay. So which slide in this?
Yeah. So if you can just go to the next next slide. Okay, just let's skip this. Yeah, let's skip this. I think discussed enough of it. Yeah. Okay. So this is I'm now in the tech part of it. Okay, I've skipped a lot of the softer part which I've discussed with you. Okay. Let me just say something on the soft part, which is that we use a Japanese style TQM for quality management. And the difference that I find between Japanese and Western systems is the emphasis. Where does the emphasis lie? In the Japanese system, the emphasis lies on human beings and tools second. In the Western system, the emphasis lies on tools, and I mean statistical tools, processes more, and people as part of that. I mean, they are not the primary driver in Japan is the people first, and then the tools come after that. So it's first culture building, teaching them the tools slowly, and then giving them meaning to why they should be using this and improving systems. So this is a huge, one big difference that I see. Right. So that's that. Okay. So let me switch to now analytics and business. Okay. So what are we looking for in industry 4.0, right? Making decisions in real time without human intervention, intelligent systems, right? And looking for patterns in data and use that knowledge to make decisions, right? So how did we find patterns in data in the old days? We would have a bunch of data, we would run regressions, right? Looking for relationships between variables. And we had smaller data. We didn't have this kind of ubiquitous network, lot of sensors, all kinds of data sources. All that wasn't available on the old times. And we had a statistical department to run the regressions and look for, does this relate to this? Are these things moving in tandem or not? And that kind of drove our kind of relationship discovery, so to speak. Okay, today we are drowning in data, right? We got so much data, we know what to do with it, right? Huge sensor data and data from diverse sources. So you're getting your own factory data, you're getting data from, let's say, financial data from a Reuters feed, or weather data from weather.com, or, God knows how many different feeds that you can generate in addition to the feed that's coming from your own plant, right? And your own ERP systems. And so what do we do with all this, right? So this is no longer amenable to regression. Okay, I mean, nobody can sit down and go through this kind of volume of data and actually run regressions. So that's where the AI comes in. So what really is AI, right? AI is, in a very mathematical, simple sense, function estimation. Okay. So what is the function? Like, I have these variables. What is the relationship between these, right? Is it x square plus 3x plus 2, whatever? I'm kind of figuring those relationships out. Which linear regression would give me a linear relationship between variables, right? A multivariate linear regression. So I am using AI now to figure those relationships out. So what AI is doing is it's looking through this whole data and kind of deducing these relationships. The problem with AI is it's a black box. You can't get the equation out. It may be an equation of over 10,000 variables, right? But you can't like look at the code and say, okay, that's what the equation was finally. You can't. That's the sad part. But it is being able to distill out certain relationships. Okay. So let me move to the next slide. Asha? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so now let's look at the technologies that we talk about, all the jargon that there is. Okay, so I have written here IIoT. Okay, and why I've written IIoT? I'm calling it the Industrial Internet of Things. Okay, so this is the let's say the sensor data and the control data that you have within your manufacturing. All machines have PLCs, sensors, everything, all the stuff that's there's a whole data feed coming out in real time, whole bunch of time series data, right? Data from diverse sources to take tactical and strategic decisions, right? So now you have the ability with AI systems to even take real-time decisions. Otherwise, you were doing post-mortem of data and then taking decisions, right? Cloud computing. So this cloud computing, what is it helping you do in this context? In this context, it is taking away the limitation of in-premise machines, right? So you had finite disk space, finite computing power, all those constraints are gone, right? All you do is pick up the cloud computing on, let's say, AWS. You can get built by the resources that you use, and you have infinite resource at your disposal, so to speak. Advanced robotics. Okay, so advanced robotics as opposed to old robotics is that old robotics were programmed for a fixed pick, place, do this, do that, paint, right? That was a deterministic pre-programmed. Advanced robotics means you're putting some amount of intelligence into the robotics. That means the robot can take some decisions. The simplest part of this, let's say a cobot. Okay, a cobot is something that is cohabiting the space with you. So let's say a robot that is just moving material around, right? And this happened to me. So I was in a Japanese factory, and this was 10 years ago. I had a robot coming, bringing material down, and I was in the way, and he just kind of went around me, right? And so it's a cobot because you're cohabiting the space, and the robot is designed in a way to work safely with humans. It's not like if you're in the way, it's going to hit you, So there is a certain amount of intelligence going into the robotics now. Okay, and augmented and virtual reality. So one way of using this, smart glasses with layering, right? So you're seeing, let's say you're looking at a machine, you're fixing it, but the smart glasses is putting the data of that machine inside, running on the sides. Or you're looking at let's say a human body, but you have these MRI scans, so you can see what's inside at that space that you're looking at, because that scan is going of that area is going through your smart glass. Right, so these kind of technologies getting used. Okay, additive manufacturing. So additive manufacturing is what we call 3D manufacturing, where you're kind of layer by layer building up a product or some I guess some physical thing. The good thing about this is that you can do production on demand, right? So now let's say you have the AutoCAD or all the drawings lying inside your 3D printer. As you need it, the printer prints it out, right? Or you can do mass customization, right? Everybody wants a different thing. You just print out different things for everybody, right? In the old days, of course, this was used more for prototyping, right? So you want to build a tool, you want to build a part which is low demand, or you want to just prototype a product which you finally want to build later. So Boeing is building the fan blades of the aircraft with the additive manufacturing. Okay, digital twins. I don't know if you heard of this one. This is like you have a model of a machine that's running there, a physical machine. You have a software model of this. It's picking up the real-time data from this machine, the sensors which are in this machine, and this software machine is running this simulation in real time based on the physical data of the machine that is running in the factory, right? So you have a simulation running on your computer which is mirroring the machine that's running on the factory, right? So based on how good your model is and what quality of sensor data you've got, you can look at what is the condition of this machine at any point of time in that simulation, without having to actually open or physically look at that machine that is running outside. So that's a digital twin, okay? So these are some of the sort of the major technologies that are quite interesting and fun to look at. Okay, now in terms of what's available out there, I think a lot of stuff is very young. I mean, the only systems that I'm seeing are like RFID based inventory management and logistics management, right? Some companies have made these kind of this digital twin system, or used advanced robotics. Yes, there are systems that are cohabiting the human space in the factory, and they are safe to work with, right? Cloud computing is there, obviously. I think the part that is going to have a lot of work coming up is the actual AI algorithms and the neural network part of it, right? Okay, so I'm going to just stop here, and then I've got an example of a physical actual neural network that I'm using that I'll tell you about very shortly. But if you have any questions at this stage, let me know.
And Hemant, one quick question. I mean, I work in agriculture, so there's a lot of, new ag tech and everything that comes in. The adoption is something that's interesting, that, not everyone is aligned, or it's good sounding, but the implementation is a challenge. So
right,
what's your view on that as you give their example as well, or how you've been able to implement downstream as well?
So there's a whole lot of data my factory is throwing out, which I am not using. Okay, it's just either going to a database, because there's a lot of work to do this intelligently, right? Right now, I have just started taking AI in a silo-based approach right now to optimize specific processes within the plant, right? I am not even using AI for control. I am right now just using AI for detection, because control is a dangerous thing. I mean, it can readjust your machine settings, and you have to be really sure that the algorithm is very reliable.
Yeah.
Right. So I think right now there's a lot of baby steps that are getting taken. The easy steps keep getting taken, like shoving your data onto the cloud and all that stuff, and stuff you can do with deterministic algorithms, right? Where you know what the outcome is going to be. Right. But when you get into AI, you are in the space of probability, right? So you have to be very careful that you have high confidence in the algorithms that you are using in artificial intelligence, right? Also, you can't look inside the black box in the AI space. So if you have to debug something, it's really tough, because you don't know what went wrong.
Right.
It's not like an algorithm, oh, this equation is wrong, oh, I missed this, or I had to take this step, So there's a lot of learning to be done. It's I would say a lot of jargon here, but to actually, like Asha is saying, it's not that simplistic to implement it. There is also a lot of problem with the skill sets available in India, right? Because it's not just come and do this. There's a lot that it takes, right? So why I'm telling you, and I will give you a model that I have used in my own plant to help you guide how you can take these decisions for yourselves if you are so inclined. Okay. So why don't I just jump into that, and it'll answer a lot of these questions that that you maybe sort of it might anticipate that. So can you open the other presentation? Shut this one down.
Yep. We're on this.
So this is a AI system I'm building for defect detection. So when you see NEP is a defect. Okay. This is a sheet of cotton that's going on a roller. Okay. So there's a roller inside. The sheet of cotton is 1 mm thick. Okay. So it's essentially a surface because it's only 1 mm thick, right? But it's in motion, right? So let's go to the next. I've just borrowed this presentation, which we had something internally, but I can explain it so you'll understand what's going on. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so there are two photographs here. So you can see this photograph, which is on the upper corner. when you see these green things, right? These are defects detected by the AI system, which is taking pictures from a camera, which I installed inside there at a speed of 5 frames per second. The reason it takes the camera is taking these pictures so fast is because you are in motion, and if the camera's shutter speed is not very fast, then you will get blur in the picture, right? So I use so again, this is a technology I had to use. I had to use what is a global shutter camera. That means the shutter never shuts. Because it's a digital camera, the electronics sample in an instant, right? So that there is no blur. So this is actually a moving sheet, but you're seeing it as stationary. Okay. So we trained, there is a neural net. I'm going a little technical, but just to illustrate the point and complexity in designing these systems, we use what is called a CNN. CNN is a convolutional neural network, okay, which is generally the architecture of neural net that you use for images, right, for image analysis. Okay, so there are many architectures. You'll find hundreds of architectures in neural networks. So we trained a convolutional neural net to look for these defects. Okay. Now, what is the big limitation or the big problem with AI? AI needs a lot of data to train the neural network. So neural network is like a newborn baby. Okay, you have to then teach it everything, and that learning happens through data. So I had to label by hand 5,000 camera images, which I used to then train the neural net. Okay. Now, once the neural net got trained, we were using normal statistical measures like false positives, false negatives. You know, how accurate is the neural network compared to the data that I have hand crafted or hand marked. So we had to then tune the neural network to get to an acceptable level of error. Okay, so now what happened was that in the first layer of neural network, which was a convolutional neural network, my false positives, okay, false negatives. So you can see that in these green squares there are dots, right, which are what we consider a defect. Okay. Now, sometimes this neural net marks defects in places where there are no defects, right? And sometimes it misses defects, which should be marked. So the ones that it should have marked and didn't mark is called a false negative. And the one that it marked and should not have marked is a false positive, right? So our aim was to first get the false negatives down. So we focused completely on tuning this neural network to get the false negatives down below 5%. Right, which we were able to achieve. But in doing that, our false positive rate shot through the roof. So we weren't missing any defects, but we were also identifying non-defects. Okay, so that's what ended up happening. Then we designed a second neural network. The architecture for that is called autoencoder. It's called an autoencoder neural net, whose job was then to take the data from this neural net and then remove all the false positives. Okay. Now, so right now I'm in the process of doing that. I've got about a 70% hit rate on that. I'm hoping that I can tune it to better than 90. Right. At which point I am within the statistical error range that I need.
Hemant, this is very, very impressive. Was this all done in-house by your team?
This was done by my AI startup. I have an AI startup on the side because actually I'm a techie at heart. I have a computer science degree. I have to find a way in the most boring business to find a way to have fun. So
that's awesome.
I can make
I'll be getting in
yarn,
touch
I
with
don't care. But you know, I have to, you know, like you say, you know, like I give you a big lecture and find meaning in life, you know. So, so the issue, So the issue here is I have only one employee in this. I have a partner. I did a 50-50 with another friend of mine. He's a PhD from Arizona State, who's a PhD in AI, right? So both of us are like partners in this firm, and then I got one guy doing this, right? So the good news is that most of the neural nets are pre-coded. The problem is to know how to use them, to know how to train them, and to know how to architect set up all the parameters, and there's a lot of work. So it's taken me 1 year, by the way, more than a year, I would say. Partly because 6 months of that I had to train the guy who was doing it, who was actually doing the code, or the work that is the physical work of it. Anyway, so our hope is okay. So why did I choose this problem? Now let's talk business strategy, right? The biggest problem AI companies have is they don't have data, right? I mean, like Google has hell of a lot of data. Facebook has hell of a lot of data, right? So for them, they're just using internal algorithms, using that data and being able to design algorithms. But most guys don't have data, right? A startup will definitely not have data. So what do you do, right? So what I chose a problem where I control the data, right? I control this data, right? So I wanted to eliminate that risk from my startup, right? That we don't know where to go with. Every time we have to go find a customer who is willing to give us data, right? So I eliminated that risk. Secondly, so then we ended up designing this system. Now I also know that this problem is a problem that 2,000 other factories face, like me. Okay. So if I can crack it in my own factory, I become the reference for this, and secondly, I can then go ahead and sell it to everybody else, and hopefully make some money back. Okay. Anyway, having said this, so this is one layer of defect detection. Okay, what I call my baby steps in Industry 4.0. Okay. Now, the next step from this would be, how do I correlate the defect rate that I see? Because now I'll be getting a real-time defect rate, right? Which was not possible for me to get in the past. There's no sensor that can do this. Once I have a real-time defect rate, I have to correlate that defect rate with product quality at the end, right? So what kind of defect rate causes what kind of level of change in product quality, whatever comes out of the factory at the other end, right? So I can now use another layer of neural net, which would start looking at the defect data and the quality data from the other side and start deciphering a pattern. So then I can tell it, like I can throw a question to that neural net. Okay, if this is the defect rate, what's the quality output? Right? Now, if I had to do this with statisticians and doing it the hard way, that's going to be really tough work. Right. So I just wanted to give you this example in a very concrete way to solve real world problems. So so give you sort of a little small taste of Industry 4.0, what you could do with it.
Should I go to the next slide?
All right. Huh? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you can go to the next slide with just more pictures, but I mean, you can go to the next slide, and you can see a couple of more pictures. So the green one is the first neural net. The blue one is the second neural net. Okay, it's correcting the data from the first neural net, basically.
Got it.
Okay, so but we still have a long way to go. We need to get this more reliable. But right now, the only way for us to measure this was to take samples from the machine and take it to the lab and then figure it out. But by that time, so much production has already gone through. So now the control strategy for this would become that once you know the defect rate, you could now relate it to what the machine settings should be to bring this down. So if my neural net starts to see a trend going up, it can start adjusting my machine settings automatically to automatically bring it down, right? But that's step 2. I mean, just getting past step 1 is tough,
Right.
So anyway, so that's illustrates small part of it.
So sure, do you want me to
go?
I
mean, I'm done with my presentation. So we can ask me what you want.
Okay, awesome.
I think, yeah. Oh, sorry, Ashay, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, yeah, so very, very fascinating. Never seen so much tech in a manufacturing operation. So this is awesome. Yeah, we can open it up for a few questions if you'd like. So Karan, Yash, Prashant, Mayank, any questions?
So Asha, if I can just jump in for one very nerdy question. Hemant, since this is all camera based, I'm just assuming that this can be timestamped and backtracked, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you can't make a trend if you don't have the timestamping. Otherwise, you won't know the trend rate of the defects, right? Because you have to know which picture was taken.
Correct.
It needs a lot of computing power. Huh? I got lots of GPUs working on it. No fun. I mean, you have to keep the AC on all day, all night. Things get so hot.
Yeah.
How far do you think we are from when stuff like AI is making a material difference on the shop floor?
Honestly, the tech is already there. Okay, let me just give you a little bit of history from CMU. Okay, I went to CMU in '85 for my undergrad. Right, my roommate was actually working under Jeff Hinton. Hinton was at CMU that time. He's the father of all this. Okay, when we look at I learned about all the neural nets with him in 1985. Okay, and all this, if you look at it, there has been incremental advancement, but the basic structure of neural networks hasn't changed in 30 years. I mean, the algorithm, which is gradient descent, that's what we call for optimizing neural networks, all hasn't changed much. The problem is it's not. The problem is that do you have enough skill set and enough competence internally to be able to collate and manage this data so that you can train this stuff, and that is where the challenge is going to come, and that's where the gap is. Now, can third party companies do it? Can you do it for yourself? I mean, you can do it for yourself, but you need a lot of internal competence. I mean, I don't know if software over time will evolve to a point where it makes it easy for anybody to train their own systems, right? There is a thing called transfer training that happens, which is that you use, like I use standard image sets off the net to pre-train my network and then train my network further by my own incremental data, right? Because you need very large amount of data. There's no way I can do like 50,000 images which are marked. So all this techie kind of stuff, I mean, you have to have these kind of skill sets in house here. Otherwise it's damn tough to do. Or you have a pre-created product which you just plug and play.
So, Hemant, I think so. The other group is already in the main room. So, if I could request everyone to, if you look at the bottom of your screen, there'll be a breakout room icon with those 4 dots. Just click on that and click leave.
I don't have a breakout room.
We also have some of us have a leave room.
Just do a leave room. Just do leave room.
Okay.
Just click on leave. Don't leave the meeting. Just leave the room. Mayank and Prashant, can you leave the room? Just click leave. It's on the bottom. Okay, Prashant has to leave. That's fine.
Just a minute. Does that work?
No, you're still here. Okay, now you're gone. Okay, Nirav, just leave the room now and then go to the main room. Nirav, if you're listening, I'm leaving. I'm going to the main room, okay?
So Ashay, our group actually, we Sushma had to leave around 5 minutes back, so she kind of logged off around 5 minutes back.
Okay.
By 8:25 or whatever, 3-4 minutes back, maybe not even 5 minutes. Couple of minutes back, she logged off, and a few others also had to leave. So I think there are not people left from our group. Just Mansi and I are there, and Sai there, but I think Sai is still there. So 3 of us are there. The others had to go. But I think we've had a fascinating discussion, and I'm sure because I can see that you all have kind of reluctantly come back into this. I think it's been amazing. I mean, at least from our perspective, I can say that I think we've had an amazing session with Sushma. It was really very relevant to all of us, right? Irrespective of which aspect of technology, whether we were in hardcore IT or people like Mansi and me who are also, from the social side into technology. So it was really amazing, very interactive and really amazing session.
So I think for me, the highlight was the interaction because it was a smaller group. So you could really engage with the speaker. And so I think in that sense, it was a very, very insightful session.
Absolutely. And thanks, Rekha. And Hemant, any feedback? How was your experience overall? This is the first time we've tried this. So,
Oh, I think this is amazing. Yeah. I mean, it's actually with smaller groups, it's much easier also to interact. And, I was also a little bit not clear what to present. So I'm thank God for those questions because it gave me a little bit of focus. So, yeah, no, I think it's been great. Happy to do it anytime.
Awesome. I think that's good feedback. And what we want from the group is, this is the first time we're trying this. We want to do more industries as well. And so with every session we improve. We will be sending out a Google form or a request for feedback. So if you have anything, if you want to WhatsApp us, if you want to fill out the form, anything that we can do to improve. One thing Hemant brought up was he benefited from a more focused discussion that helped him create the slides. We had a presentation that Hemant shared for our discussion. So, we can think about that for next time too.
Nice, nice. So I think I'll just quickly wrap up now by, thank you, Hemant, and of course, Sushma. But thank you so much, Hemant, for coming, and thank you to the rest of you also who have come and who have been part of this session. And it's because of everyone's participation that we were able to kind of pilot this, event in a new format, something we've been talking about and been very keen on. So I'm really happy that we could finally do it. And of course, last but not the least, big thank you to all the wonderful volunteers, Ashay, Grishma, Mansi, and big thank you to Neera for putting us in touch with both Sushma and Hemant. Thank you very much for this. I think we could not have done this event without both of our stalwarts. So I think thanks a lot, Neera, for that, and wishing all of you a wonderful weekend, and we'll keep in touch. And please do send us your feedback; very helpful as we plan further events.
Great. Thank you so much. That was very nice.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you all. This was amazing.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.